Hi, my name is HADIRAH binti ABDUL Salam.
Hi, my name is HASMIRA binti HASHIM.
Assalamualaikum, I'm FARHANA binti Hadi.
Hi, my name is NURUL binti Muhammad Kamsul.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Ahmad Afiq bin AZIZ.
In our current situation, money can be a part as essential needs where we can use it to buy basic needs such as food, clothes and shelter to continue survive. There are many ways that we can do to get money legally, and one of them is to get paid by working, or it is known as salary or wage. According to the Maimunah Aminuddin 2016, wages can be defined as a part of an economic transaction made by an employer to an employee as value in exchange of their energy, time, money, resources and others. In 1940s, minimum wages was established by the Wages Council Act, which it included a number of sectors such as cinema workers, shop assistants, hotel and catering workers. Minimum wage is the minimum amount of remuneration that an employer is required to pay to the employee in a given period for work performed by the employee which cannot be reduced by collective agreement or an individual contract. The enforcement of minimum wages then continued until the Wages Council Act was changed into the National Wages Consultative Council Act that passed by Parliament in 2011. The new act provided for a tripartite to be established, which was empowered to recommend a minimum wage for all sectors of the economy. The new act was more equity and fair because all sectors will be given the same minimum wages. The minimum wage will be raised and standardized to 1,200 ringgit starting on January 2020. But it will be limited to the workers in major cities in country. This is according to the budget on 2020 tabled on 11 October 2019. However, there are many conflicts arise due to the implementation of minimum wages. Among the issues that commonly appear in newspaper, television and social media are give burden to IKS traders or small and medium industries, rising market price and encourage to the inflation, the number of foreign workers increase, and the last one is lack of employment opportunities. For further explanation, let's move to the next slide.
The first issue is rising market price and inflation. There will also be a higher price for goods and services because the rate of labor has increased since the minimum wage is introduced. In a census of almost 30 research papers by Sarah Lemmers of the University of Leicester on the relation between minimum wage and inflation in the US, a 10% rise in a minimum wage will increase food price by 4%, while the overall inflation rate was no higher than 0.4%. Many business owners fear that the rises in minimum wage may result in price increase that reduce spending and economic growth for customers. International literature notes well that minimum wage minimizes the allocation of wages. By reducing jobs, reducing revenue, or increasing price, business adjusted to be higher labor costs. The higher price are a direct reaction to an increases in minimum wage. As they do not greatly impact work for benefit. Present definition of minimum wage is an anti-injury and hunger program. If the minimum wage does not cause disemployment but inflation, the poor who suffer disproportionately from inflation could harm rather than help. Other than that, increased wages are growing and customer spending is expected to increase. A significant raise in minimum wages can contribute to higher growth. The first is higher cost for firm, and the second is higher worker spending. For the reason, it can also lead to inflation. If employees earn a wage increase, customer spending will also increase. Low-wage staff are presumably more likely to eat marginally. This can also cause a ripple effect, with higher spending contributing to knock-on effect in the other areas of the company. If we believe, therefore, that labor markets are competitive and the minimum wages contribute to a lower degree of employment, the increase in unemployment will adversely affect aggregate demand. Unemployment people will pay less, contributing to decrease overall demand. In the view of employers, rising their manufacturing costs will contribute to a rises in minimum wages. In comparison, if the employers would not only have to increase their workers' salary on the minimum wage, but also need to increase their wage differentials just above the minimum wage if they want to preserve wage differentials.
For the second issue is give burden to the SME or IKS trader. The first point is small and medium industry, which is IKS, feel burdened with the new rule enforced by government. As we know, the government have been set the minimum wages for each employee, which is RM 1,200, where the amount is quite expensive and high for small enterprise trader. The next point is they started the business with a small amount of capital. Then of course the profit they receive sometime in a quite small number. So from that, as we can see, the employee will get a small salary and not same as working at large company. Also, due to that, the employee from small and medium enterprise will feel burdened because, as we know now, cost of living getting higher than before. So, with a small salaries will not enough to them to survive. The last point is there is a high possibility that they cannot afford to pay the workers, then have to lay off some of the workers to cut the cost. So from this point, we can see that their business will be face shortage manpower. As we know, shortage manpower is a lack of person with a particular skill, which is a free market economy driven by supply and demand and may result in increasing salaries and difficulty in obtaining their service. So, from this shortage manpower, we can see that if the government introduce the minimum wages, and this what make employees worry, which is shortage manpower can occur in large company or small companies such as IKS, because most company will feel burdened with the minimum wages that have been introducing by the government. Other than that, by having shortage manpower in the company will not able to manage the business to grow successful in the future because they need to follow the government rule, which is the minimum wages. Lastly, shortage manpower can cause low productivity of business and become slower.
The third issue is the number of foreign workers increase. The problem faced by employers in hiring foreign workers require long procedures and employees have to comply with employment law. The high demand for foreign workers remains too far as local workers are not interested in working in the construction sector and are willing to accept wages or salaries are given to foreign workers. Foreign workers are a part of society in Malaysia when their population is high. Thereafter, the problem arises from the employment, which is law of foreign workers, but at the same time, these things are contradictory between each other. From the studies state that the factors that influence the increase of foreign workers in the construction sector is due to the policy of travel or entry of foreign workers into Malaysia, which is policy
lack of unemployment opportunity and crime transmission. The implementation of this minimum wage scheme had a negative impact on the socio-economic system. Many parties do not agree with the proposal to create a minimum wages because it will affect business operation and can reduce employment opportunities in Malaysia. Due to the implementation of this minimum wages scheme, employers will not be able to increase the salary of their employees as set by the government, and more impact is on small employers who are unable to cover operating costs. As a result of this implementation, many employees will lose their job as employers are forced to close their business operation. The sector most affected by the implementation of these minimum wages are the manufacturing, industry, service, agriculture and food sector will be affected as a result of the implementation of the minimum wages. Another alternative to avoid increasing operating costs, the employer will focus on machine for the production process. All sectors are likely to reduce manpower as a result of implementation of these minimum wages as they are unable to cover the rising operating costs. It is more worrying when there are still many fresh graduates who has not yet found a job, and also when many workers has been laid off due to the implementation of these minimum wages, as this is the rising unemployment rate in Malaysia. Due to the lack of employment opportunities, it will lead to an increase in crime rate. Many citizens will commit crime and will make illegal activities when they lose their source. The higher the unemployment rate, the higher the crime rate in the country. Those who lost their job will commit crime such as stealing, robbing, and cybercrime. Cybercrime is also hotly debated when many are victims of internet fraud. Unemployed and workers who lost their computer skill job will harness their knowledge and skills to commit this cybercrime. No source of income and life stress compel them to commit these criminal activities to obtain their source of income.
In conclusion, the introduction of the minimum wage also affects employers in Malaysia. Based on reading materials, we found that there are few issues among employers that arise due to the rules implemented under the National Salary Consultative Council Bill 2011. In our view, the introduction of this new rule is not wrong, as there are several articles stating that the rules are beneficial to workers in Malaysia, which it can increase their standard of living. But we hope that the government can reconsider the decision and take a little bit care about employers. This is because employees and employers, as we know, are important elements in a business to achieve every objective and to improve the business to be better in the future. That's all from us. Thank you.